Welcome. I'm Doug Morgan, and you're listening to Uncommon Sense, where we hunt for the truth in the topics you're not supposed to talk about, Christianity and politics. And welcome back to the podcast. In fact, it's Friday. You've made it. And that means FOMO Friday. We love to bring you the stories of the week so that you don't have that FOMO, that fear of missing out. And we bring you stories that you may or may not have heard about. Oftentimes, the propaganda media does not cover these stories. And if they do, they don't cover it, very well, oftentimes. And so we bring you the stories of the week you should probably know a little bit about. And we have a big, full week this week to cover, and we want to start out with kind of on a down note, unfortunately. But Dolly Parton, the towering queen of country music, whose sky-high blonde wigs and razor-sharp wit and world-class talent conquered pop culture and warmed millions of hearts. Well, she has passed away at the age of 80. Yeah, a article from the Daily Wire says that the tragic news was confirmed via an official Instagram video by her nephew, Brian Seaver, on behalf of the Parton family. Now, Parton's death comes after a public struggle with her health. Fans were hit with a scare in September of 2025 when she abruptly canceled a slated 6-night Las Vegas residency at Caesar's Palace. And at the time, she cracked a classic Dolly joke to ease the blow, claiming it was just time for her 100,000-mile checkup that didn't involve her plastic surgeon. She asked for time to get show ready and reassuring the world that God hadn't told her to quit the biz just yet. Well, shortly after, however, she bowed out of accepting her Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award in person at the Motion Picture Academy Governors Awards, even while battling health issues. You couldn't keep Parton down. Just this past summer, she was hard at work in Nashville, overseeing Dolly, an original musical and an autobiographical stage production, I guess, tracking her wild life that was meant to debut in 2026. Born January 19th of 1946 in a just a dirt poor one-room East Tennessee cabin on Locust Ridge, Dolly Rebecca Parton was the fourth of 12 kids, and her father actually paid the doctor who delivered her with a simple sack of cornmeal. Yeah, her signature track, Coat of Many Colors, immortalized how her mother sewed a jacket of rags for young Dolly, and kids at school laughed, but Parton didn't care. She recorded her first single, Puppy Love, at age 13 and bolted from Nashville the very morning after graduating high school in 1964, packing her belongings in a paper grocery bag, or actually more than one, it sounds like. It wasn't long before she caught her big break on the Porter Wagoner show in 1977, though Wagner's audience initially hated that she replaced beloved singer Norma Jean. Parton won them over, and the duo notched 11 top 10 singles together. But Parton was designed was destined to run her own show, and when she decided to go solo in 1974, a bitter Wagner resisted and eventually actually sued her for $3 million. Yeah. Instead of anger, though, Parton responded by writing "I Will Always Love You" as a farewell letter. The song went to number one twice for Parton. Yeah. But the hit Cosmic Heights in 1992, when Whitney Houston belted it out for The Bodyguard, selling 4 million copies and racking up a massive amount of royalties for Parton. Through the 1970s and 80s, Parton's power crossed over to pop and Hollywood. She She scored a monster smash with Here You Come Again, and famously teamed up with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin for the 1980 workplace comedy 9 to 5. Parton wrote the movie's legendary theme song, of course, and later lighting up the screen in the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and Steel Magnolias. When male interviewers tried to corner her with condescending questions about her eye-popping chest or plastic surgeries, Parton responded with legendary self-deprecating jokes like, "It takes a lot of money to look this cheap." she beamed that, owning her image before anyone else could mock it. And across her 6-decade career, she penned over 3,000 songs, scored 25 country number ones, took home 11 Grammys, and snagged a 2022 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She initially turned the induction down because she didn't think she was rock enough. and then she had a hit-packed rock album called Rockstar in 2023. So yet for all of her plagues and theme parks like her beloved Dollywood in Pigeon Forge and Hollywood fame, Parton's lasting legacy might have been her radical, pretentious kindness. She was a really kind type person. Everybody would say that. In 1995, inspired by her father's inability to read or write, she actually launched Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. What started as a local crusade to mail free books to kids in East Tennessee ballooned into a global powerhouse, shipping over 200 million books to children across 5 countries. I will say that we were a part of that, and our children actually ended up getting some of those books, and that was really cool. When devastating wildfires wiped out thousands of homes in East Tennessee in 2016, her My People Fund didn't just write a one-time check. The fund actually gave affected families $1,000 a month to get back on their feet, and actually bumped that up to the final check of $10,000 when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the 2020 in 2020. Parton sent a $1 million check to Vanderbilt University, directly funding the research that helped create the Moderna vaccine. And she also showed her grace in private. Years after Wagner sued her, Dolly stepped in to rescue him from financial ruin. And when he hit rock bottom, buying his publishing company to pay off his debts and gifting it right back to him before his death. Parton was preceded in death by her fiercely private husband of nearly 60 years, Carl Dean, who passed in March of last year. She leaves behind no direct children, but millions of devastated fans, and a country that had nothing but love for the backwoods Barbie with a heart of pure gold. So, as I've said before, I'm not a big country fan, but I think Dolly Parton definitely crossed over that and really was an entertainer. She would not get into politics. So there's a number of different occasions where the media would try to bait her into that, and she would quip some Dolly joke or something and wouldn't take the bait. But so like I say, she did a lot of really cool things with her money. Didn't do things for money, and just will be missed, I think. Well, moving to a court decision that actually is really good. A Boston federal judge on Wednesday lifted her remaining block on key portions of President Donald Trump's executive order seeking to tighten mail-in voting rules ahead of the midterm elections. Yeah. U.S. District Judge Idira Tawani's decision comes 2 days after a divided Supreme Court stayed a previous ruling from Tawani that blocked the Trump administration from implementing portions of that order. And in her 9-page order, Tawani who, by the way, is an Obama appointee, expressed frustration with the Supreme Court's intervention. So she didn't like it too well. She didn't really want to do this, and she let the Supreme Court know. But the development allows the U.S. Postal Service, the USPS, to move forward for now with new requirements for mail ballots in federal elections, even as Democratic-led states challenge the new rule in a separate lawsuit. The Supreme Court's unsigned 6-3 decision Monday marked an interim victory for Trump, but did not resolve the order's underlying legality. So it's just a step in the right direction. The judges found that the Trump administration was likely to prevail on its argument that the states challenging the order lacked standing because they had not demonstrated the concrete and imminent injuries necessary to bring their claims at this stage. So in March, Trump signed an executive order directing the Department of Homeland Security to create and distribute state citizenship lists, identifying residents who are U.S. citizens and will be at least 18 years old by the next federal election. Well, a separate provision directed the U.S. Postal Service to establish new procedures for mail-in and absentee ballots in federal elections. And last Friday, the USPS issued a final rule establishing new standards for mail-in ballots in federal elections. Under the rule, election officials could have to submit voters' names, addresses, and unique ballot envelope barcodes through a federal portal before handling ballots over to the Postal Service. Now, ballots in violation would be rejected and returned to the authorized ballot mailer. Obviously, there are a number of states that are mail-in ballot only states. That they don't have polls anymore. Oregon, Washington on the West Coast are just two. And so this is a significant thing for them. Again, it's not banning it, but it's a step in the right direction. Even Jimmy Carter, remember old President Jimmy Carter? He even said that mail-in balloting is the best way to invite fraud. So, well, there has been a kerfuffle, if we want to call it that, with the former Miss North Carolina beauty queen. Well, she is suing Miss USA Pageant for defaming her after she was stripped of her title over old social media posts. Yeah, Brittany Boltonhouse is her name, and she said the organization targeted her unfairly because she is a Trump-supporting conservative Christian. Yeah, the lawsuit does not claim that Miss USA doesn't have the right to take away her crown, but instead, Boltonhouse is accusing the organization of maliciously coordinating to publish a false public narrative portraying Brittany Boltonhouse as a racist, homophobe, transphobe, and an intolerant bigot to be shunned from public life. That's exactly how it's put. The beauty pageant contestant is suing for loss of income, reputational harm, and emotional distress. Brittany Boltonhouse was not merely stripped of a title. Actually, she was publicly branded with a scarlet letter, accused of some of the most despicable accusations that can be lodged against another person in modern history. And that's what her attorney, Patrick Mincy, said in a statement. Another attorney for Boltonhouse added, while defendants enjoy a certain level of discretion to crown and remove title holders, they cannot remove a title holder for political reasons and then defame that title holder for to the public to hide their true motivations. The beauty pageant contestant's title was stripped after old social posts from 2017 and 2019 resurfaced. The posts included racial slurs with Boltonhouse, which she has since apologized for. Her attorneys described the post as the self-evident use of the popular slang term, and the lawsuit also states that other social posts revealed she was a staunch supporter of President Trump, the assassinated conservative activist Charlie Kirk, and an open skeptic of President Biden's Transgender Day of Visibility. Oh no, that will definitely get you banned. So, Tom Broder, who is chairman and CEO of the Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, said in a statement that the decision was not made due to conduct over an extended period of time, or it was actually made over because of the conduct made over an extended period of time. Broder did not specify the conduct, but did state that the organization does not tolerate racism, homophobia, transphobia, nor language that strips any person of their dignity. Well, except your, gal here. Anyway. Yeah, quote, I believe I was stripped of my title because of my political stance and my belief system as a conservative Christian woman, is what she said in an August 7th interview with the Carolina Journal. So we'll see. We'll keep our eye on that, see what happens with those cases. Well, another interesting court case that's happening as well, and it involves a baby born with severe heart defect is in critical condition as a bitter legal battle continues between a pro-life surrogate who refused to abort him and genetic parents who demand the pregnancy be terminated. Yeah, the newborn, whom surrogate McKenna West named Gabriel, and his genetic parents named Rumi, so they named him Rumi. He's got two different names at this point. Was placed back on a breathing tube after his condition deteriorated following open heart surgery, and this according to documents obtained by TMZ. In a Dallas courtroom Tuesday, the genetic parents Nassim Gilkar and Omar Ahmed told a judge that they were reeling after West defied their demand to get an abortion and traveled to Texas, where she sought legal protection and medical care for the baby. Quote, he's our child, Gilkar said. And according to the Associated Press, they reported that the California woman wiped away tears on the witness stand, referring to the surrogate sitting across the room. Gilkar added, she's unstable. She's trying to take him from us. Didn't sound like they wanted him. But anyway, Jeff Doman, an attorney for West, repeatedly pressed Gilkar about her desire to terminate the pregnancy after the baby was diagnosed with hypoplastic left heart syndrome, or HLHS. Quote, would you trust somebody to care for your child that wanted your child dead? Doman said. And Gilkar said she didn't know how to answer. Well, West, who actually is an Alaska nurse and single mother of two, delivered the baby earlier this month in the Dallas area after Texas Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton secured a court order requiring that he receive life-saving medical care. The baby was diagnosed at 20 weeks with the HLHS. Of course, that's the serious congenital heart defect. And West has said that after learning of the diagnosis, the genetic parents demanded that West travel to California to abort the child. And that's what the Daily Wire actually previously reported. Well, West told the judge she scheduled an abortion at 23 weeks at the couple's urging, but ultimately could not bring herself to go through with it. Quote, I knew that this baby, despite the diagnosis, had a great chance of survival and a great chance of leading a long life, is what West told the court. West also described the terrifying prospect of undergoing an abortion, saying it would have been a 2-day procedure. They would have injected his heart with a solution that would stop it, is what West testified, saying that the baby would have been removed 2 days later, and it was terrifying. The surrogacy agreement at the center of the dispute contains a provision giving the genetic parents broad authority to request that West abort the baby, which is not good. But the child later underwent complex heart surgery, the first of 3 surgeries needed to treat HLHS, Since then, the baby's condition has actually taken a turn for the worse, but we'll be praying for him. Quote, he's struggling to breathe. We have to watch him gasp for air and choke on the tubes, is what Gilcar said to the New York Post. But beyond the custody fight, the California couple is reportedly seeking, get this, a 6-figure cash award from West. Yeah, the surrogate mother, accusing her of malicious conduct by refusing to terminate the pregnancy and breaching the surrogacy agreement. Now, Gilcar and Ahmed have claimed, this is what they claim, they suffered emotional distress throughout the ordeal, which has captivated attention from pro-life activists, of course, and members of the Trump administration. And West previously said having the baby could cost her up to $200,000, which is a price she was willing to pay. She said, quote, "This is my body, and I absolutely don't want to go through with this. Nothing was scarier than questioning my own soul and knowing what would happen if this to this baby boy," is what she told Live Action. Quote, "His life doesn't have a price tag on it. There's nothing that they could try to come out that they could try to come after me for that would be worth his life." Well, the Dallas judge on Tuesday extended for another 2 weeks a temporary restraining order barring West from making medical decisions for the baby, and the judge did not issue a final custody ruling at that time. So we'll keep an eye on that, and like I say, keep the little baby in prayer. Well, the saga continues with the WNBA. Yeah, the WNBA has a rule saying only women can play in their league, right? What it doesn't have, at least publicly, is an explanation of what exactly makes someone a woman. Well, enter Enes Kanter Freedom. Yeah, the former NBA player, who, by the way, was a Portland Trailblazer for a time, my team. The former NBA player is putting that question to the test after ESPN reported that multiple sources around the league said he and fellow former NBA player Royce White are not eligible to play in the WNBA. And there's a reason 2 former NBA players suddenly want into the women's league, and both men had declared themselves women and eligible for the 2027 WNBA draft. Well, the move is meant to force the league to confront a question that has been hanging over it for weeks. Who qualifies as a woman under WNBA rules? That's the question. Well, Article 13, Section 1A of the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement states, quote, "Only players who are women are eligible to play in the WNBA," unquote. That's it. That's all. The agreement does not go on to define the word woman, and the WNBA does not have a publicly available policy governing the eligibility of transgender or intersex athletes, according to ESPN. So when Fox News host Laura Ingraham pressed Freedom Monday night on whether he is actually a transgender woman, Freedom turned the question back to the league's rules, saying, quote, "Listen, Section 13, right, Article 13, Section 1 says if you identify as a woman, then you're allowed to play." Well, Ingram asked whether that meant that he was identifying as a woman, and he said, "I identify as a woman, sure, yes." And Freedom's description goes further than that. The CBA actually says the agreement does not state that simply identifying as a woman makes someone eligible. It says only that players who are women may play without publicly explaining how the league determines who meets that requirement, right? And that's the loophole that Freedom is trying to expose. Quote, "But right now, if you identify as a woman, you're allowed to play, and I am identifying as a woman, and I should be allowed to play in it." That's what Freedom told Ingram. And the WNBA didn't find itself answering questions about transgender athletes because of Freedom. The start that started with Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham. Yeah, she kind of started some of this. Cunningham set off a nationwide debate earlier this summer when she spoke out against men competing against women and girls, saying, quote, "I got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans." And I'm like, I never once said that, Cunningham told ESPN. I think that I am here to extend love, but I also think with that love is truth, being honest. And I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. And Cunningham later described her position as common sense, and her comments turned what had largely been a broader political debate into a very real WNBA headache. Yeah, protests broke out, of course, and then counter protests. I mean, there's been all kinds of stuff going on there. There wasn't actually a transgender player attempting to enter the NBA until Freedom and White decided to change that, right? And Freedom, took that fight courtside. He actually attended Sunday's Indiana Fever game against Chicago Sky wearing a black shirt that read "Women Noun, Adult Human Female." Well, during a timeout late in the third quarter, Sky guard Natasha Cloud confronted Freedom, and Freedom took several steps toward the court before security intervened and escorted him from the Wintrust Arena. Quote, "I just got kicked out of a WNBA game for supporting women," is what Freedom wrote afterwards. He says, "Let that sink in, America." Well, a day later, ESPN reported that sources around the league said Freedom and White would not be eligible to play. Yeah, they would not be eligible to play. ESPN also reported that there are currently no cases requiring the WNBA to make an eligible determination, and that the league plans to continue researching and reviewing the issue. No known transgender woman has played in the WNBA, they say. And that leaves Freedom with essentially the same question that he started with. If the WNBA says he isn't eligible, what exactly is the rule that makes him ineligible? And Freedom said he'll follow it if the league spells it out. If they, that's what he said. He said, if they ever come out and say, okay, we are changing the rules, I respect their decision, Freedom told Instagram. I will, follow the rules. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. For now, the league's written rule remains remarkably simple. Only women can play in the WNBA, and Freedom's challenge is just that simple as well. So he wants them to define what a woman is. Well, we're gonna end today on kind of a funny thing that is going on with Dan Sullivan. Yeah, in a U.S. Senate race that could determine control of the chamber, Alaskans now face an unusual choice: Dan Sullivan or Dan Sullivan. Yeah, and a third political heavyweight named Dan Sullivan has drawn a line in the sand, weighing in on which Sullivan he backs heading into November. Earlier this week, former Anchorage Mayor Dan A. Sullivan, endorsed Senator Dan S. Sullivan, a Republican, for re-election this fall over retired teacher Dan J. Sullivan and former Democratic Representative Mary Peltola. As the OG Dan Sullivan, I urge Alaskans to vote for Dan Sullivan. He's been great for Alaska. That's the Dan S. Sullivan. That's what the former mayor posted on Facebook. And the endorsement, which went viral on social media, of course, follows a closely watched legal fight over Dan J. Sullivan's Senate bid. The former elementary school teacher, who has no prior political experience, successfully qualified for the primary ballot, according to the Daily Wire. And a lot of people think that this was just thrown in there because of the fact that Alaska, they have the ranked choice voting in the general election. So you literally could be voting for 2 Democrats or 2 Republicans or whatever. It's just in the primaries, whoever gets like the top 2 spots, it doesn't matter what party they're from, they get that's who you vote on in the general election. Ranked choice voting, not a great system. It's something Democrats have really been pushing a lot of in particularly blue states. But yeah, it's something that Alaska has, and they're going to have to vote for Dan Sullivan, aren't they? We'll see what happens there. But anyway, would love to hear what you had to think on it. Of course, you can always comment, and you can always let us know what you think by going to our website, the uncommonsensepodcast.com. And thank you for listening.
This podcast is a production of Morganite Communications.